Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to look at the round 19 preview for NRL Fantasy in the 2025 season. So before we talk about my team directly, we'll look at the most popular trade-ins and trade-outs this week, the who's hot, who's not list. And to start with the who's hot list, number one, Connor Watson. So, definitely a keeper in the hooker position this season. Didn't play a lot of time in the game last night at the time of recording. So I think he should be good for an 80-minute effort this week and obviously moving forward. So definitely a trade-in option this week. Talon Silva. So I guess at the cheap price, I haven't looked at his price too closely. 230k, so bottom dollar, nice little break even. It's probably going to come down to his minutes, how many of those he is going to get. If it's a case of they've got Lussick in there for the first 25 minutes and then De Silva comes in and plays 55, I do think this is a good option. I guess the other unknown there is Riley Smith, and I guess what his role will be after. I think he's suspended this week, so he should be back for round 20. Fletcher Hunt, so another bottom dollar cheapie from memory. Close enough to it, 232k, but has got the fullback gig. So the fullback game that he had in round 15, he won 55 metres. There was a little kicking as well. But the tackle breaks were the ones that were much improved. So I guess also limiting the errors. I think it was this game against the Dragons had a bit of a nightmare under the high ball. So, I think if you are looking to sort of make some cash, I don't mind Hunt or De Silva for that matter. They could definitely fund some other moves through the rest of your team. Isaiah Katoa, so I guess has just had his last buy. Actually, no, they've got another buy, don't they? Yeah, so they do have another buy coming off of their second buy this week. But, based on averages, he is a keeper. So I think if you want to bring him in, you can do so. Celeste Fiketti, so named on the edge again. Looks like it's his spot until Siwa Wong recovers from that injury. What's the price point like? Yep, so 413k, still nice break even at 4. How'd he go on the weekend? 45. So, he's got decent sort of scoring potential there. 40 tackles in 80 minutes. So, I think Fiketti is definitely one you could bring in. Isaiah Yeo, so a little bit of a question mark around whether he backs up or not. I think he will. Him and Clear, well, I guess all the New South Wales guys there, off the disappointment of Origin, will probably want to, back up and move on as quickly as they can. So if he does play, I think his percentage change will increase a bit. But until we get confirmation one way or the other, I am recording this on Thursday night. Got a busy day tomorrow. Probably won't get on in time to give everyone else time as well to have a think about it. So, I guess I'd wait. I do own him, so I don't have to worry about the trade. But I do have to worry about if he's going to play or not, I suppose. Nafahu White, yep, I think he is like a borderline keeper, covers middle and edge. What's he at nowadays? 613k, so he is, a slightly cheaper option if you are looking for maybe more so a bench cover for the rest of the season. I don't think he sort of fits in on the on-field 13. But obviously we can't fit all the big guys across our squad unless you've made some ridiculous cash this year. Latu Finu, so I feel like he's made a lot of his money. I know he's got a good break even this week in the negative off the back of a 63. So obviously a try and a try assist was nice. Um, what was the other sort of stuff? So that was was with one line break. So I'm guessing that's for the try. But some good meters gained. Don't know if you can expect that every week. So he will make some cash, but I guess at the awkward price. Um, yeah, I mean, what would be the reason to bring him in? You want a moneymaker that plays this week? I mean, you're better off, I think, going all the way down to De Silva or Hunt. Obviously, they're not halves. But I guess if you use them to go up to a keeper like Katoa, it probably makes more sense. Jaden Campbell, yep, I think he's still a keeper at wing fullback. In saying that, I'm gonna struggle to get him back in. Just looking at my sort of back line at the moment, there's a fair bit going on there, but we might be able to finesse it. The one you need to ask, a super handy dual position guy. I've had him all season, and I think I'm definitely going to be using him in the team, depending on matchups going forward. Scott Drinkwater, I think if you like him at fullback, for wing fullback, I should say. Um, they do play the Bulldogs this week, which may mean that the upside's not there this week. But after that, I say that I'm not too sure on their run. Actually, let's have a look. So, I mean, a tough couple coming up, but then Dragons, Cronulla, Para, Newcastle, Tigers. It's an okay run through there. So Broncos and bye to finish is a little bit tough. Um, I think there's better options of wing fullback personally, but if that's the price bracket you're shopping in, I guess he's your guy. Angus Crichton, so finished with Origin. So obviously wasn't a viable hold during that time with the buys and obviously not being available for Origin. Um, and I imagine his price will be a bit discounted too. 603, which is pretty good for Angus. A couple of lowish scores there leading into the Origin period. But you can see even in the games he did play a 63 and a 50, where he was probably put on ice there, you'd suggest, for the last seven. So I think he'll be a very good pod for the run home at only 4% ownership. Nick Meaney, I think, is a trap. Back into the centres this week. May have the goal kicking, which is nice, but the tries and all that he scored was off his backup play at fullback, which he probably won't be playing this week. Payne Haas, it's a tough one because he does play the last game of the round and he's under that injury cloud, but he does have a habit of just playing through the pain and killing it. So pardon the pun there, by the way. And Eli Katoa, yep, I think he is a viable keeper at the edge. Just have a look at his price. So it's 700k. So I mean, for 100k less, you could go Angus Crichton. I think if I was making the trade this week, I'd be looking towards Crichton just because of the price. Um, but yeah, I think they're both great options. If you want to bring them in, both of them in, feel free. The Who's Not list. So Jazz Tavanga, yep, I think he's done his job for us. Obviously trading him to Connor Watson is a like for like in terms of position, but definitely an upgrade in terms of scoring output. Luke Metcalf out for the season, so he can go. Joey Tarpany is an interesting one. I'd probably hold. Um, I guess I've got Yo, Haas, May as my big three in the middle. But if I was looking for another, mid just to sit on my bench, the Broncos have a buy in round 20. The Tigers have a buy at some point. So, having that fourth middle's just sitting on your bench, obviously there's not a lot of flexibility with it, but he'll score you points. So I'd hold Joe Tarpany. Kalen Pong is pretty much done for the year with that ankle surgery, so he can go. King Togia, I think you've got your money out of him. What's he made? Yeah, 200k almost. Yes, well, no, sorry, I forgot they start at 230. So what's that? 150, which is usually the threshold to consider trading. The break even's up there with his average price, so or his price average, I should say. So yeah, he's definitely one you can cut. Toby Couchman, I think he's done for the season, so yep, you can cut him. Jackson Purdue, so it has moved back to the centres, which is nice, but as we just talked about with Drinkwater, a tough couple of fixtures. And obviously, you can probably upgrade him anyway at this point. Ewan Aitken probably has done his job for us. So, yeah, you can chop him. Sandon Smith has been relegated to the reserve, extended reserves with Sam Walker back, so he can go. Another one who's done his job. Lockie Hubner's probably done his job for us, so he can go. Riley Smith, so I guess, yeah, again, I'm not sure how that's going to work with him into Silver. Um, but you could probably just swap them, and I think De Silva will make a bit of extra cash and do a similar job of scoring to Riley Smith, so makes sense. Ruben Garrick is surely a hold. He's probably been the one who's ruined my season in Supercoach with his scoring. Obviously, I think if you go from him to Nwangani Tawase because you need cover this week, that trade makes sense. Um, But if it's like you're cashing him out for a hunt, for example, I mean, if you're trading him to Drinkwater, I don't think that's the best move. Him to Meany is definitely a terrible idea. Him to like Campbell, I do like me a bit of Jaden Campbell, so yeah, there's a couple of outs there for Garrick, but I think he's a hold overall. Jesse Arthurs, I think, can go. Um, Fletcher Sharp can definitely go, and Klamatangi I think is a hold. He's had a couple of rough weeks, but he'll bounce back. He'll be a keeper for the rest of the season. So in terms of my team this week, the first trade I think makes sense. Tavanga number one traded out. Connor Watson number one traded in. So obviously I have the money sitting there, which is pretty handy. So I made another sort of upgraded move this week as well. So I've gone Savala out. I just think with Sam Walker coming back, he has peaked in price. He won't be the main kicker in play. Obviously, he does have the long boot, which is nice, and Sam Walker definitely has the short kicking game. But Sam Walker in the seven will be the dominant half. So I think, Savala's made 355k. Can't ask for too much more than that. And I'm upgrading to Isaiah Katoa. So I know he does have a bye coming up, but I do have Cleary. I do have Jerome Hughes sitting on my bench. Kurt Donohue's not much help because they play on the same team. um, but yeah, and as you can see, I've got the team set up a little bit differently for this week. And it's mostly about the question marks on Cleary and Yo, whether they back up or not. So Connor Watson just sits there. I'll put Aaron Clark into the middle. Him and May are sort of in my captaincy considerations this week. And then I have put Payne Haas in over Isaiah Yo. So, best case scenario where everyone plays, I think Haas will outscore Yo. So that's why I've gone here. But then obviously, if Haas misses out and Yo plays, I've got his score will come in. And if they both miss out, I've still got Josh Curran here as a bit of a catch for that middle spot. So I think whichever way things go this week around restings, I've got my middles covered. So that does mean I've played Dylan Lucas in the edge position instead of centre alongside Preston. And what that's done is it's forced me to put Karapani in in the centres. I think that's fine because they are playing the Titans this week. I think he could score a couple of tries and score pretty decently. So I'm happy to take that calculated risk this week. And then in the halves, I have got Cleary and Katoa, and obviously if Cleary misses out, I've got Jerome Hughes. So um, yeah, it was sort of a tough call between Hughes and Cleary would have been fine, but I wanted to trade out Savala just because he peaked, and I was going to sort of downgrade him and bank the cash to do some moves next week. But then I thought, well, probably want to bring Katoa in as my third half. I've got the money to do it now. It just kind of made sense. So I'll play Katoa and Cleary. If, assuming everyone plays, that's probably who I would pick. So Jerome Hughes will just slot in if Cleary does get rested. And then the wing fullback, Tedesco, Kiraz, Pappenhausen. Um, and yeah, it's basically, I think, that's how the back line's going to sit. Obviously, Lucas will come back in here next week when I have Kalamatangi will slot back in here. And then we'll have the opportunity to maybe do some final upgrades. Like look to upgrade Curran. Um, maybe Duncan we could might be a slight upgrade there potentially. Um, maybe also be able to use a bit of Donahue's money. Um, and I guess people might be saying you've lost it. You've only got one trade left, but we do get an extra 8 trades next round. So round 20, you'll find that you get an extra 8 trades. So if you've been sweating on 0 trades, or you're like this, you got one trade left, and you're like, oh, well, it's a hard sort of ride home. They do hold an extra 8 trades in reserve for you, so that you can't blow them all too early. So thanks NRL Fantasy. Appreciate you understanding that we all love a trade. So yeah, so that's the team this week. The captaincy, as I said, I'm just keeping it in the middle, nice and simple. So yeah, make sure that's all saved. Um, yeah, so basically the bench is set up just in order of how we want players to sub in. So if there's a laid out with Hooker, Kurt Donahue can cover the middle sort of rotation we talked about. Curran could come in on the edge potentially. The half, so Hughes would be the one to come in, but we have Donahue and Fino as well. Um, yeah, we don't really have any cover for the backs, but we might just have to react if there's some late outs. I'm not anticipating anything like that though. So yeah, so that's the team going into round 19. If you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the NRL Fantasy content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.